Welcome to the Inside Pitch. This is episode 9, I think. We got quite the rundown today. It is All-Star Weekend, or right now it's Tuesday, so it's not the weekend anymore. But last night was the Home Run Derby, and today is the All-Star Game. We got quite the list of topics to go over. Some have to deal with this week, All-Star weekend, whatever you want to call it. Some snubs. We got the Home Run Derby to talk about. Maybe is it lacking something? I don't know. I have some thoughts on the Home Run Derby. Jacob Misiorowski, he's an all-star after 5 starts? Is he really all-star worthy? Cal Raleigh is on an insane pace, not to mention what he did in the Derby. Houston Astros just keep on keeping on. It doesn't look like they're ever going to have a down year. Made a video on that on the main channel, so if you want to check that out, that link will be in the description. The AL East is starting to get a little bit dicey, or spicy might be the right word. Toronto looks legit. The Red Sox are on fire. They're on fire. They've won 10 straight. The Yankees are kind of faltering a little bit. And we got some disappointing teams that are probably going to sell at the deadline. And at the beginning of the year, we thought they were going to be, on a playoff pace, or like in a good spot to make a playoff run, should you say. But anyway, if you listen for a little bit and you decide that you kind of like this type of content, make sure to hit that like button. And if you want to hear more, if you want to see more, hit subscribe. We're also on the Spotify, so that link will be in the description. But let's just go ahead and get into the Home Run Derby as I take a sip of coffee. The Home Run Derby this year had some exciting guys, had some exciting hitters. I was pretty stoked because once I heard that James Wood would be in the Derby, he's a big name. He's got some pop. He's an up and coming young stud, as some would say. So I was really looking forward to him, especially because he's a lefty and he's just going to pepper the chop house. Brent Rooker, another name I was excited about. Junior Caminero, young, exciting shortstop or third baseman. I haven't really watched much Rays, which I think he's playing majority third base, or if not all of third base. O'Neal Cruz, that's the name I was really looking forward to. Byron Buxton, Jazz Chisholm, Cal Raleigh, and Matt Olson, who was replacing Ronald Acuna Jr., which is understandable, but also a bit disappointing because I wanted to see Ronald hit some bombs, but he's been having a little bit of a back issue, if I recall correctly. So he kind of bowed out of the Derby. Makes sense. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. He came back late in the season. Anyway, my pick was O'Neal Cruz. I didn't bet on him or anything. I live in a state where I don't know if it's legal all the way yet. I know I can't do parlays or anything like that, but I didn't really try. But O'Neal Cruz is someone I was really looking forward to hit, and he put on a show the first round. 21 homers. He hit a 513 foot home run, and apparently that ties the distance as far as homers that were not hit in Coors. But anyway, let me just list off the first round, the winners who advanced past the first round. Junior Caminero and O'Neal Cruz tied with 20 home runs each. Byron Buxton hit 20 homers, and then Brent Rooker, Cal Raleigh tied with 17 home runs. And I'm actually just going to pull up this picture real quick of a tweet. Thank you, Luke's Hookah. And there was a tiebreaker with distance, and it was so incredibly close. Brent Rooker, Cal Raleigh, if you can see the number here. Brent Rooker hit one 470.53 feet. Cal Raleigh just edged out the victory in the tiebreaker with 470.61 feet. So a 0.08 difference. And I'm not going to math it right now, but that is very small. Very small. It's crazy that we could measure it like that. And I'm kind of skeptical about how accurate that is. Maybe to that extent. I think 470 feet is probably accurate enough, but to get into that territory, that's kind of nuts. I mean, if you're watching and you see how many numbers come out of the decibel, it's like you're looking at pi. It just doesn't stop. 470.61714524141. I sound probably like a stormtrooper giving off their ID code. But anyway, those four advanced: Wood, Rooker, or Caminero, Cruz, Buxton, and Cal Raleigh. On another note, Jazz Chisholm just hit 3 homers. Matt Olson, he got off to a rough start, but he ended up turning around. He got close. He hit 15 home runs. I don't believe he hit one in the bonus round. So he was eliminated, as most of my Braves are eliminated whenever they do the home run derby. Anyway, the semifinal was less of a show. Byron Buxton versus Junior Caminero. Caminero would take this round 8-7, just 8-7. I actually went to sleep before this. I get up kind of early for work, even though I didn't work today. I like to keep that habit up. And Cal Raleigh would defeat O'Neal Cruz 19-13. And I think Cal Raleigh had a big advantage. It was pretty cool. In the first round, he started off hitting lefty, and then he took his time out, and then he switched to hitting righty, which I thought was pretty incredible. I had never seen that before. I don't know if has anyone ever seen that before. I don't remember off the top of my head if that has happened in a home run derby before. So let me know in the comments. And then in the final, Cal Raleigh won the final 18-15. Junior Caminero, great performance. He actually hit a home run. I saw a kid in the outfield. I saw a clip of a kid who probably took one away from Junior Caminero, which is interesting. I want to hear what Junior Caminero's thoughts were on that. And it'd be wildly different, or it probably still would be different anyway, depending on how early or late in the round that would happen, like how it would affect his morale and the rest of his performance in that round. But Cal Raleigh would go on to win. I believe he is the first catcher ever, first Mariner to win it since Ken Griffey Jr., who I believe is a 3-time champion. So it was cool. But overall, I got some thoughts on the Derby itself, its product. So for those of you who have not kept up with the Derby lore, and myself included, and I don't know, I don't have all the rules in front of me, but this is just anecdotally when I was watching the first round, each player gets 3 minutes or 40 balls. Whatever finishes first is what you get. So you could hit all 40 balls in 2.5 minutes, and then you don't get that extra 30 seconds. I hope that makes sense. And then at the end, you get 3 outs to play with, I believe. I'm not sure if you have to hit 2 home runs 450 feet for that bonus to be active. If that's the case, you do get three balls, or 3 outs, I should say, to hit as many home runs without making those 3 outs. And then if you hit another one 425 feet, then you'd get an extra out to play with. I think that's the rules. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments. Appreciate you. But I don't necessarily like this format. I don't know how much has changed. I can't keep up with the changes. It feels like it changes every single year since they did away with a 10-out format. And I really miss the 10-out format. When I was watching the Derby last night, my favorite part of each round was those final outs that everyone was getting to play with, because it wasn't timed. You could actually admire the moonshots depending on how far they were and how much you wanted to admire. And it seemed like the crowd was more into it. And it kind of makes sense to me that they would be more into it for this type of format, because when you're timed, you have a rule of you can't hit the next one until the one you just hit lands. And it's a very, very loose rule. I don't think anyone really follows it to a T. They might follow it at the beginning, but then time starts running out and you might have like 5 balls left with like 15 seconds, and then you start to speed up. It just happens, and no one gets called for it, because who wants to watch a home run derby where an umpire blows the whistle and says that home run doesn't count because you hit it too soon? Anyway, I think there's just something missing for the electricity factor for a home run derby. The crowd doesn't seem as loud. The crowd just doesn't seem as loud. And I have a theory on why. It may not even be a theory. It might just be fact. But when they hit a home run, when a player hits a home run, they don't get to admire it for a certain extent. They see, or maybe the crowd is watching it go into a section. They know it's not heading towards their section. This is especially true when you talk about when you're considering the crowd in the outfield. Say you're in left field. You see a ball get hit clearly to right field. You don't really get to admire how far it goes. You see it's heading that way, and before it lands, you're just focused on the next swing. So there really isn't a chance for you to cheer to the maximum extent when that ball is heading not towards you and you're just getting ready for the next one. It's like, I don't get to enjoy this one because I'm so set on the next one. So it just seems like there's a lack of electricity. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And I just really miss being able to admire the moonshots. I really didn't like the TV product, the split screen. It just, I don't know how to fix it. I wish I knew how to fix it. My fix is going back to the 10 out system. And I think the only reason that they won't is just because it took too long. It took too long. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it taking too long. Maybe just start the Derby a little bit earlier, maybe like 30 minutes earlier. I don't know if that would make a dent, or maybe just go through the pre home run derby festivities, the introductions, maybe do that a little bit early. I don't think a lot of people are going to be missing those if they didn't see those. The majority of people, I think. Let me know if I'm wrong. But anyway, that was the Derby. Cal Raleigh came away with it. I was pretty stoked. MLB The Show players are pretty stoked as well. I imagine having a switch hitting 99 most likely. I haven't seen the stats, seen the cards. I'm a little bit out of that community nowadays. I deleted the game actually, which is interesting. Anyway, I digress. There are some, moving on to the All-Star rosters. Who made the All-Star team? Who are we looking forward to seeing? I have some thoughts on the rosters, the players, and I think there are some definitely noticeable snubs, or some guys I would have over who made it, which are kind of egregious. So, but I think overall it's a good, decent roster, but I think some of the snubs, some of the guys that didn't make it are really egregious, really bad. And I know there are a little bit of like intricacies and deadlines when it comes to voting and who gets to vote, especially for the reserves and the pitchers. And especially, we'll talk about Jacob Mizorowski here in a bit. The American League All-Star starters, you got Cal Raleigh behind the plate, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. playing first base, Gleyber Torres second base, Junior Caminero at third base, Jacob Wilson was your starting shortstop, Aaron Judge, who was the #1 vote getter in the outfield, in playing right field, I believe. Riley Green is going to be playing center. Javi Baez, or Riley Green is probably going to be playing left. Javi Baez is going to be playing center, I believe. Check me if I'm wrong. Ryan O'Hearn is going to be starting DH, and Tarek Skubal is going to be your starter on the mound for the American League. And I think a lot of these choices are great. These are fan votes, by the way. And one thing, I don't know if this is the lineup that I would have. I really think that Javi Baez is such a great story. Javi Baez is a fantastic story. I'm so happy that he has come back and he is playing very, very well. And I know the Detroit Tigers are loving this, as well as probably himself. I thought he was done. It looked like he was absolutely cooked. It's wild to believe he's 32 years old. But I'm really, really digging this resurgence. However, I don't know if I would have him in the outfield. And, props for fans to acknowledge that. I will say that. Props to them for acknowledging that he is playing very, very well. And it's just very, very good to see. I'm loving it. I don't know if I would have had him in the outfield. I think there are several players that would be better to start the All-Star game than Javi Baez right now. And that gets me into one of these snubs. Actually, let's first go over the reserves before I get into this. Before I get into the snubs, let's just go over the reserves. You got behind the plate, Alejandro Kirk catching. Infielders, Jonathan Aranda from the Tampa Bay Rays, Alex Bregman from the Red Sox. I almost said Rod Sox. What's wrong with me? Jazz Chisholm Jr. from the Yankees, Maikel Garcia, Brandon Lau, Zach McKinstry from Detroit, Isaac Paredes, Jeremy Pena, Bobby Wood Jr. Outfielders, you got Randy Rosarena, Byron Buxton, Steven Kwan, Julio Rodriguez, and DH is going to be Brent Rooker. I think this is Brent Rooker's first All-Star selection, by the way. Okay, so that gets me into my first snub, who I not only would have as a reserve, but I think this guy has played himself into a starting role in an All-Star game. I know he's been hot recently, so a lot of people weren't able to see that when they were voting. So I completely understand that. And that is Cedar Rafaela from the Boston Red Sox, who is third in F4 compared when you look at the entire American League in outfielders. He has played 92 games. He's hit 14 homers, 48 RBI, 13 stolen bases. He's slashing 271 with a 314 on base and a 483 slugging, 3.4 F4, WRC plus at 115. He's having a fantastic year, OPSing over 800. I don't know if anyone saw this coming. He has been insanely hot lately. Good amount of red on his good amount of red too. good amount of red on his baseball savant profile. Not only that, he plays tremendous defense, 100 percentile in fielding run value, according to baseball savant. And let's see what he's been doing recently. He's been on a tear. He's been hitting lefties. He's been hitting righties. In July, he has hit 5 homers, hitting 390, 405 on base, 902 slugging, and a 1300 OPS in July. So I understand that maybe the fans didn't really get a chance to vote him in to see what he's been doing lately, because the voting happens super early, and I can kind of understand that. But for us, the players and whoever votes for the reserves, to miss this is pretty egregious in my opinion, especially when you have Julio Rodriguez. I know Julio Rodriguez has been hot lately. I believe he finished the first half with 3 straight games with a homer, but he's just nowhere near what Ceddanne Rafaela is doing right now. He's just nowhere close. Okay, maybe nowhere close is a little bit much, but he's still not there. He's had a decent year. 14 homers, 17 stolen bases. He's slashing though, 252, 313 with a 417 slug, a 730 OPS. He's still playing tremendous defense, but he's just not having the type of year that Ceddanne Rafaela is having. Maybe I would be okay with Julio Rodriguez as an all-star if we didn't leave Ceddanne Rafaela off, but I just think it's not great. It's not great. I don't love it. And I know there's plenty more to baseball than the stat line. There really is. So I do think Julio Rodriguez may be all-star worthy, but I just don't know if he should be there when you got guys like Ceddanne Rafaela out. You know, even his teammate Randy Arozarena is having a really, really good year. 251 average, 357 on base, 463 slug. He's got 2.8 F4. I know that's not the F4 that Ceddanne Rafaela has, but I don't think I don't think Julio Rodriguez should be there. Plus, you got some guys like Jake Myers has had a really, really sneaky good year. He doesn't have the power to really give him a big influence for voters, but he's been having a really, really good year. So maybe these snubs aren't super obvious, but I think Ceddanne Rafaela is one of the snubs that is super obvious. Other than that, I do think the lineup, the starters look pretty decent. A little surprised Jacob Wilson is starting the All-Star game. I like that though. As long Bobby Witt Jr. is still an All-Star, which is great. I think it would have been a toss-up for me between the two. Jacob Wilson having a great year. Rookie, which is dope. Bobby Witt Jr. plays much better defense, and overall, I think he's had the better season, but I'm okay with Jacob Wilson starting over him in the All-Star game. And plus, it's great that fans were acknowledging that Jacob Wilson is having a fantastic year, with him being on the West Coast, playing for the A's, playing in not a major league ballpark. So props to the fans who voted him in. That is a great job. I think, I also think if Jonathan Aranda played somewhere else other than Tampa Bay, he might have been your all-star starter. I think he's arguably had debatably had a better year than Vladimir Guerrero Jr. as far as like OPS goes. He doesn't have that star power name, but he's got a 151 OPS plus compared to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who I don't think has that type of season under his belt right now, a 127 OPS plus. So it's pretty far below. So I love Vlad. I would have liked to have seen Jonathan Aranda start. I think he has earned it, OPSing almost 900. I don't know if he's playing as good of defense as Vlad, but I mean, Vlad has never been a good defender. Despite having won a Gold Glove, he has not been a great defender. Jonathan Aranda is pretty mediocre defender, so I would have liked to have seen him start the All-Star game, even though Vlad Guerrero's baseball savant looks so much more red. But Jonathan Aranda has the results on the table, OPSing close to 900. So I think that might be a little bit of a miss. But having said that, I still really, really like Vlad, and they're both all-stars. So I'm pretty okay with that. Awesome to see Michael Garcia getting the nod to be at the All-Star game. He's having a fantastic year. Ryan O'Hearn, I love what he tweeted out. He was so happy that Devers got traded to the Giants, because that was just opened the door for him to be the all-star starter at DH, which is kind of fantastic. And as far as the starting pitchers go for the American League, it's going to go Hunter Brown, Chris Bubich, Garrett Crochet, Jacob deGrom, Max Fried, Yusei Kikuchi, Casey Mize, Drew Rasmussen, Carlos Rodon, Joe Ryan, Shane Smith, and Brian Wu as your starting pitchers. Your relief pitchers are Chapman, Carlos Estevez, Josh Hader, and Andres Munoz. Do I have a large issue with the pitchers? I don't know if I have a large issue overall, but there's some guys that are that I think are deserving. And I mean, I love Yusei Kikuchi. I would say get rid of the one player per team rule. That's what I'm going to say. I am going to say that. I love Yusei Kikuchi. I think he's a good pitcher. I think his season is probably all-star worthy, but I don't think he deserves to be there over some other players, some other pitchers. First of all, how are Framber Valdez and Nathan Eovaldi not all-stars? Those two are having fantastic seasons. Now, I don't know if they just declined the all-star invite, but even so, they deserve to be named publicly or officially on their baseball reference pages, because it's insane to me the type of year that Nathan Eovaldi's having, and he is not an all-star. Let's just run through his numbers real quick. He is 9-4. We know record means everything for a starting pitcher. And with 115 innings pitched, he has a 1.58 ERA, a FIP of 2.36. He is fifth in WAR of starting pitchers, or just pitchers overall in the American League. He's having a fantastic season. How do you not make the all-star team with that amount of work? And my fault, it was 91 innings, not 115. How do you not make the all-star game with that body of work? I don't believe he's hurt. He's got 16 starts. Am I just not misreading the situation? Is he actually hurt? And on to Framber Valdez. He's 10-4 with a 2.75 ERA, 3.01 FIP. He's having a fantastic year. I think he's all-star worthy for sure. And I would put both of those guys over Yusei Kikuchi on the all-star team. 125 strikeouts and 121 innings for Framber. Yusei Kikuchi has around the same K per 9. Eovaldi has around the same K per 9 as well. He's just having such a good year, and it kind of just sucks that he's not in the all-star game. I don't even know, has he been an all-star before? How many times has he been an all-star? Has he been one? He was an all-star in 2021 and 2023. He's just aging like fine wine. He reminds me of Charlie Morton. He does. He really does. He didn't start out as poorly as Charlie Morton did. Charlie Morton had some rough years in Pittsburgh and Atlanta, and he aged like fine wine. He's starting to age kind of the same way, in my opinion. Maybe not as gracefully, but he is plenty, or more gracefully, maybe. Why did I say that? He's 35 years old. He's doing extremely well. I think this is a better year than Charlie Morton ever had, if I recall correctly. Also, maybe we get more relievers in there, because I know Brian King from Houston is having a ridiculous year, and this is not to take away from the American League pitchers that were voted into the All-Star game or selected to the All-Star game. I think they deserve it. Hader, Chapman having fantastic years. Brian Abreu having a ridiculous year. 42 innings pitched, 1.7 ERA, 20 walks compared to 66 strikeouts. I think that is an insane type of year, and I think that should be acknowledged. Andres Munoz is having a great year. I'm not unhappy about that. Yohan Duran having a fantastic year, 1.66 ERA. I think four relief pitchers is a little light compared to the amount of starting pitchers we had in the All-Star game. But that's what I think. Before I move on to the National League, make sure if you like this type of video, hit that thumbs up and just give me a comment, or consider subscribing if you want to see more. Moving on to the National League, your all-star starters are Will Smith behind the plate, Freddie Freeman playing first, Ketel Marte playing second, Manny Machado is going to be on third base, shortstop is going to be Francisco Lindor, outfield is going to have Ronald Acuna Jr., Pete Armstrong, and Kyle Tucker. DH is going to be Shohei Ohtani. And your starting pitcher is going to be Paul Skeens. I don't know if I have an issue with anyone in this starting lineup. I think maybe if we're getting into the nitty gritty, I love me some Ronald Acuna Jr. What he's done in his short stint has been very, very good. His borderline incredible. Not even borderline incredible. It's been amazing. He's put up 2.3 B-WAR, hitting 323, 12 homers, on base 435. OPSing over 1,000, OPS plus at 186. That's fantastic. He certainly did cool off. He certainly did cool off though a little bit. And this might be a hot take, but I think maybe the dude who I would have starting over Ronald Acuna Jr. would be maybe even Juan Soto. Maybe. I'm not sure. I think James Wood was there too. I think there's so many deserving guys to be in the outfield of this all-star lineup. And for your reserves, you got Hunter Goodman catching, lone Colorado representative, Pete Alonso, Elliot De La Cruz, Brendan Donovan, Matt Olson, Eugenio Suarez, Corbin Carroll in the outfield, along with Kyle Stowers, the lone Miami representative, I believe, Fernando Tatis Jr., James Wood, Kyle Schwarber. I'm thankful that this is the starting lineup for the National League All-Stars because, my God, it looked like Mookie Betts was going to be in there at some point. The fans were voting Mookie Betts, and I was like, looking at his stats, just no, he's just not having that type of year. He's having a pretty poor year overall for him. He's playing pretty good defense, and I know there is factors going into why he's not playing as well as he usually is. The illness he suffered when he was before the season even started, I think that has a lot to do with how he's progressed. He's really never gotten a chance to, put weight back on, get back to being the full Mookie Betts that we all have come to know. And I know I mentioned Kyle Stowers, the lone representative for the Marlins. Dude is absolutely mashing. So if I still think we should remove the one player per team, but it's not like he doesn't deserve it. He's actually been playing very, very well. I mean, let's go over his slash line. 293 average. All right. 360 on base. Pretty good. 543 slug, pretty damn good. He's hit 19 bombs, 54 RBI in this Marlins lineup. He's put a 3 WAR overall. He's got more WAR than Juan Soto, so maybe I should just go back on what I'd say, maybe putting Juan Soto in the starting lineup. I do think he's a snub. I think Juan Soto is definitely a snub, but I don't know who I would take out for him, to be honest. He is having a fantastic year. If you wanted to switch Juan Soto with Kyle Stowers, I wouldn't be mad, even though he has more WAR, but that's kind of arbitrary. That's an arbitrary amount of numbers. Let me know if I used the word arbitrary correctly. I don't know if I did. Not an English major. I think the outfield is just a really, really deep position. You got PCA in the starting lineup. Fernando Tatis Jr. is having a fantastic year, top 3 in WAR in the outfield. Kyle Tucker's having a fantastic year. Corbin Carroll as well. Corbin Carroll having a really good year. Andy Pages having a fantastic year. Sal Frelick's even having a really, really good year. Brendan Donovan, well deserving. I think correct me if I'm wrong. I think, is he like the utility player for the All-Stars? I believe he is, as well as Zach McKinstry in the American League. But there is this one dude who I think is a ridiculous snub, as well as Juan Soto, and he is a Cub. Or two dudes on the Cubs who are egregious snubs. They go by the names of Seiya Suzuki and Michael Busch. I think it's kind of ridiculous how they are not All-Stars. Let me just tell you about Michael Busch and what he's doing this year. He's having a fantastic season. He is slashing 290 with a 375 on base. He's slugging 550. His OPS is 925, and his OPS plus is 165. I almost said his OPS was 165. That would have been pretty wrong and pretty awful. 3.4 B WAR. He is mashing at the plate. He is absolutely deserving to be an all-star. And Seiya Suzuki, I think he leads the league. He leads all of baseball in RBI, I believe. He's having a ridiculous year. I mean, let's look. He doesn't have the B WAR, or he doesn't have the WAR associated, but he's hitting 263, 25 homers, 77 RBI, 319 on base, OPS plusing at 146. I think he is definitely all-star worthy in my opinion, which is just my opinion. I think it's kind of ridiculous that he should be there. He should be there. Same thing with Michael Busch. I think it's kind of insane how we don't have him in there. So those are some snubs, notable snubs. You could even go down the list and say there are even more snubs. But at the same time, I think the National League did a pretty decent job getting their players in there. I think you could say CJ Abrams is a little bit of a snub. Andy Pages. I think Trey Turner is a bit of a snub as well. He's having a decent year overall, 24 stolen bases, 11 homers. I think Lindor was probably the right choice to start the All-Star game at shortstop. Perdomo having an awesome year. He's having a really good year compared to what I thought he'd be doing. And it's hard. It's really hard to say like who I would switch out for some of these guys, but it just doesn't feel right with Seiya Suzuki and Michael Busch off the All-Star team with the type of year they're having. Anyway, on to pitchers. We got Andrew Abbott, Matthew Boyd, Mackenzie Gore. Clayton Kershaw was a legend pick. I didn't see if there was a legend pick in the American League. I don't believe there was, or at least nothing was signified to me. I guess there wasn't a legend that needed to be picked. Freddie Peralta, David Peterson, Robbie Ray, Chris Sale, Logan Webb, Zach Wheeler. Yoshinobu Namamoto. Did I say Namamoto? That's hilarious, by the way. Jacob Mizorowski. We'll get into that in a second. Relief pitchers are going to be Jason Adam, Edwin Diaz, Trevor McGill, Randy Rodriguez, Robert Suarez, and Adrian Morion. 3 San Diego Padre relievers in this bunch, which is kind of nuts, man. That is absolutely nuts. Their bullpen is crazy. But real quick, let's just go ahead and get into Jacob Mizorowski. He is an all-star. He has made 5 starts. Those 5 starts are incredible. 25 and 2/3 innings pitched, 33 strikeouts, a whip of 0.9, an ERA of 2.81. Very, very good. Very good short career so far. He's on my fantasy team, so I'm pretty happy about that. However, should he be there? This really reminds me of Steven Strasburg and when he was a rookie. I don't remember what the actual was, if he was an all-star or not. I'm gonna have to look that up real quick. But I remember he came up probably in 2010. They were talking about putting him in the all-star game. He got called up in June, I believe. Yes, I was correct. He had his first start was on June 8th. In 2010. And we were talking about putting him in the All-Star game. So he was around the same situation. He was going crazy. He was having a fantastic year, electric rookie. He had way more hype than Jacob Mizorowski did at the time. He was a 1-1 for the Nationals. Everybody knew about Steven Strasburg. He threw, I don't know, so many no-hitters in college and just had a ridiculous year. Everyone was waiting for him to come up and just dominate. And I mean, he did. First career start, struck out 14 in 7 innings. Kind of nuts. And his first 7 starts were kind of nuts as well. 2.32 ERA with a 1.91 FIP. 42 and 2/3 innings pitched with 61 strikeouts. So it's kind of a crazy year for Strasburg up to that point. A crazy rookie. First 7 starts, but he wasn't elected to the All-Star game when it came down to it. And Jacob Mizorowski was after 5 starts. Now, there are so many other pitchers that are well-deserving, that are more deserving than Mizorowski. Maybe what Mizorowski has done in that short amount of time is more impressive. An electric 5 starts. Notably, his last start against the Dodgers where he gave up a leadoff homer to Shohei Ohtani and then proceeded to strike out 12. Hell of a year. Love that. However, you look at Christopher Sanchez from the Phillies. He's put in a body of work of 115 innings with a 2.5 ERA, a 2.74 FIP, a 3.2 pitching WAR. Absolutely ridiculous. He should be there. He should be there instead. I agree. I think he should be there instead. I just had a little conversation with myself. You all are going to hear that. The whole internet is going to hear that. I don't know what's wrong with me, so don't ask. But he should be there. You could argue Sonny Gray should be there too. 3.50 ERA, a little bit high, but he's put in 108 innings and K per 9.83. Nick Pavetta's had a really, really good season. Spencer Schwellenbach's had a really, really good season. So yeah, maybe some of these guys that weren't all-stars didn't have the body of, or didn't have the type of starts that Jacob Mizorowski has, or potential or skill, but their body of work is much larger. They put in more work this year. Mizorowski's only thrown 25 innings, so that's not much. But to add another layer to this is that I forgot, I don't know if it was Bob Nightingale or not, but someone tweeted out that there were 14 pitchers that declined the All-Star game before they got to Jacob Mizorowski. So when you look at it, maybe he does deserve to be there. And if players were just not going to decline the All-Star invites, then he wouldn't have been there anyway. But that is so interesting to me that 14 pitchers declined the All-Star game. It's interesting, but maybe not super surprising, especially if you look at who was getting invited. Who was getting invited to the All-Star game? Were they pitchers that had yet to hit the free agent market yet? Younger pitchers who haven't gotten paid yet? Because if they haven't gotten paid yet, and we all know we've seen so many injuries lately, we've seen just countless Tommy Johns. It seems like we see dozens and dozens every single year to good pitchers, that why risk that extra mileage on your arm if you haven't been paid yet and you feel like you deserve a good free agency and don't want to miss a year and a half due to rehab for Tommy John, and who knows what you're going to be like when you come back. So I can understand that, depending on who was asked. I don't know if that was correct or not. Who knows how accurate it was that 15 players were asked before they got to Mizorowski. Let me know if you know better than me. You might. Who tweeted that out? I want to say it was Bob Nightingale, and so if it was Bob Nightingale, love love his account, love Bob Nightingale, but he does say the wrong thing so many times in his tweets, which is hilarious. So it may not be him, and whether or not how accurate it was. But if a guy like Spencer Schwellenbach declined the All-Star invitation, I wouldn't be surprised, because he's young. He's a very, very good, talented pitcher, all-star worthy, in my opinion. So maybe he declined because he didn't want to go through that extra mileage on his arm. Why risk it? But at the same time, it is his home ballpark, so I would be surprised if he declined it, especially if it's a first-time All-Star appearance. I just don't think you would decline that sort of thing. But anyway, I digress. Those are the All-Stars, and those are who I think should be there. Let me know if I missed anyone, missed any snubs, or guys you think you would have starting over the current starters. Let me know in the comments, and I appreciate you watching. Moving on, we're going to be moving on to Cal Raleigh. I mean, he's just once again just having a ridiculous season already, doing what most catchers have never done, what any catcher has never done. He switch hitting catcher, won the home run derby, just having a ridiculous year. I mean, 38 home runs, already set a career high, which was previously 34. And that's not a number to just say it's not that great. It's not like he had a career high of 11 home runs and he just smashed his career total through the first half of the year. This dude has hit 30 home runs twice before this year, and now he's at 38. The record for a catcher was Salvador Perez in, 2021, 48 homers. He only needs to hit 11 more to smash that. And it sounds even crazier when you say he only needs 11 more, and then he'd be at 49 homers on the year. He needs 22 more to break 60. I think he has it in him. I do. It's like we haven't really seen any part of his hitting dip. He's just been doing this all year. Let's look at what he's done month to month. He's hit 9 homers in April, 12 in May, 11 in June. Halfway through July, he's at 5. So he's kind of pacing around the same. He's cooled off a little bit, or maybe I should say a lot overall. You look at his slash line in July, he's only hitting 128, but his on base is 300. That is 172 points higher than his average, which is nuts. That's what you want to see. If your best player is only hitting 128, they better be getting on base. And my God, he is getting on base compared to that average. Also slugging .513, 5 homers, even though he's 128 average. And what is hilarious is that all 5 of his hits in July have been homers. So keep on keeping on, keep on fighting the good fight. I really hope he doesn't slow down. It doesn't look great that he's only hitting 128, but the homers are still coming, which is great. And is he going to be the MVP? Is he going to be the MVP over Aaron Judge? That is such a tough question to answer. I know I didn't put this in the rundown, an MVP discussion between Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge, but those are the two dudes that are in the MVP discussion, not to mention maybe even Tarek Skubal, but I just don't think Tarek Skubal is going to finish above these two. If everyone just kept on pace for what they're currently doing, I don't think Tarek Skubal would pass Raleigh or Judge. And to be honest, I think Aaron Judge is still probably my MVP. I know the position he's playing is not as valuable as catcher. It's insane that Cal Raleigh is doing what he's doing as a catcher. But Aaron Judge, in a vacuum, this is one of the greatest seasons we've ever seen overall. And you pretend Aaron Judge didn't have the last couple seasons, the last 3 years. Pretend that never happened. Pretend he was just a mediocre player that is having an outstanding season this year, a career year. What's crazy is that may end up being his career year, and it's just an average year for Aaron Judge, which is kind of nuts. 355 average, 462 on base, 733 slug, 1195 OPS, 35 bombs. Look at this Baseball Savant page. Is extremely red. It looks like me after spending several hours outside in the middle of July, which we are currently in, and I may or may not go spend some time outside today. That's neither here nor there. What he's doing is ridiculous, and I think he's still my MVP. It's not like he's playing just poor defense out in right field either. He's playing very, very good defense. The only slight to his game, according to Baseball Reference, is his base running. He already has, I believe, I'm looking this up right now, but I'm going to say it. I think he has 7.0 FWAR as a so far this season, which is just absolutely nuts. Absolutely nuts. 7.4 FWAR compared to Cal Raleigh's 6.2 F4, which is still incredible. They're both on pace for 10 WAR seasons. I mean, Aaron Judge could have a 10 WAR season by mid-August. Let that sink in just a little bit. He's absolutely insane. I hate to say it, but I do think he's my MVP because of all those things. You just look at it in a vacuum. What he's doing is absolutely insane. Do I think he's going to regress at all? Not really. I think we've already seen some of the regression with his batting average. He's not hitting 400 anymore. Oh no. He's only hitting 355. What a slacker. But his on base is 462, slugging is 733. His average is 100 points higher than Cal Raleigh almost. I'm not saying that batting average is the main thing. It's not the main thing you look at. It's really not. The BABIP is high, 425, but I mean, he's crushing the ball. I don't know what his career numbers in BABIP are, nor do I know how to analyze it for a player of his caliber. I really don't. Cal Raleigh's BABIP is 251, so maybe he's gonna even have a little bit of improvement. I am not sure exactly how to analyze batted balls in play, batting average on balls in play. If anyone knows this or has looked into it extensively, let me know, please. And also on a different note, Bobby Witt Jr. is having a really, really good year. It's not the type of year that he was having last year, but last year was incredible. He's still having a really, really good year. And anyway, I think Judge is still my MVP. Even if Cal Raleigh breaks the single season home run record, which is possible, which is very possible, he's on pace to do so. He's absolutely on pace to do so. What is it? What is the record? I think it's 62, so would he have to get 63 to break it, if I am correct? He would have to hit 63 to break it. He needs 25 more home runs to break Aaron Judge's single season record. And I mean, I don't think Aaron Judge is going to hit 60 again. I mean, he very well could. He very well could. Why did I even say that? Like he wouldn't take that personally, like Michael Jordan in The Last Dance. But he's hit 5 home runs so far this year or this month, 9 in June, 11 in May, 6 in April, 4 in March, which was partly due to a 3-homer game. Maybe he has some more 3-homer games in him. But anyway, Aaron Judge would be my MVP. I probably said that for the 4th time in this video. So anyway, on to the next thing. We'll be talking about the Yankees a little bit later. But first, we're going to talk about the Houston Astros because what they are doing once again is just ridiculous. I just made a video on my main channel about that. So if you want to check it out, that link will be in the description. If you ever watched a video by the Show Noob or watched any sort of streams in like a couple years ago, that is me. I'm the Show Noob. That is the second channel. So if you want to check that out, link will be in the description. I worked pretty hard on it, and I would appreciate it if you checked it out. It'd be kind of awesome. But anyway, the Houston Astros, I mean, they were supposed to be finished. They were supposed to have a down year this year, right? Trading away Kyle Tucker, getting rid of Alex Bregman. That sounds like a piece of trash. That sounds like he's a piece of trash. They didn't just get rid of him. He walked in free agency. They let him go. Like Elsa in Frozen. Never saw the movie. But anyway, they're supposed to have a down year. Through the first month of the season, they were 16-14. The Seattle Mariners and Texas Rangers were supposed to be better than them this year. The Mariners partly due to their pitching staff, the Rangers because everyone thought they were going to have a little bit of a resurgence, a little bit of a bounce back after their World Series hangover last year. First month, not so much. Seattle was in first place, up by a couple games. Going to go to the end of May here. What's their record at the end of May? Just 4 games over 500, 31-27. Only a half game up, or only a half game back from the Seattle Mariners, I should say. Positive run differential plus 14. The Mariners positive run differential plus 7. Plus the Mariners are losing out or missing Logan Gilbert for a lot of the season, as well as George Kirby, who has since made his return, I believe. But anyway, after that, the Houston Astros were going to heat up. They heat up, and they are now in first place at the AL West by several games. I believe five games they're ahead of the Seattle Mariners right now, which is kind of nuts considering all that has happened with the Astros and the players that they are missing and the type of seasons they've seen from some of their dudes that were supposed to be key contributors. I mean, Christian Walker, you got him on a 3-year deal. He is OPS plusing 83 right now. That is not Christian Walker-esque, and I don't think he's even playing very good defense right now. which is kind of what he is known for. He's won, 3 straight gold gloves. It doesn't look like he's really going to hit that 4th straight gold glove. Now, he is a little bit older, so that does play in part to that. Yeah, you look at his baseball savant page, it is just blue. It is just blue, like the hat I'm wearing, like the shirt I'm wearing. And speaking of which, the hat I'm wearing is the Toronto Blue Jays hat. I'm an Atlanta Braves fan wearing a Toronto Blue Jays hat, living in Kansas City. No, I don't know what's wrong with me. So if you could maybe let me know what's wrong with me in the comments, I'd greatly appreciate it. I've been looking for that for 35 years now. Thank you. Anyway, Christian Walker having a bad year. Yainer Diaz having a subpar year for him. 90 OPS plus. He's been hitting a little bit more lately. Slashing 246, 280, 408, 688 OPS. 13 bombs though, so that's not bad. However, not a lot of walks compared to the strikeouts. But my God, I just now saw this. Christian Walker, 103 strikeouts in the season so far. Is that usual for him? Does he strike out a lot? I mean, last year he struck out 133 times in 130-ish more at bats. So maybe he does. Maybe he is pacing around the same, but the year before that, he struck out 127 times in 582 at bats. So he needs to strike out only 24 more times in about 240 at bats to have it be like 2 years ago, which is kind of nuts. Brendan Rodgers, who's been playing some second base mixed in with Jose Altuve, who moved to left field, by the way, is not playing particularly well. Jose Altuve, he started to hit a little bit. He started off kind of cold. He's a defensive liability, though. I'm not going to lie. He's a defensive liability. He's got 0.5 WAR, and he's hit 17 home runs, 277 average, 336 on base, 465 slug, OPS of 801, 122 OPS plus. Pretty solid hitting season, yet only 0.5 WAR. That's because his defense has been so terrible. So net positive still. He's 35 years old, which is kind of nuts. He's been around forever. And Yordan Alvarez, he's only had 100 at bats. So this is not going to be the norm, but man, those 100 at bats are bad, really, really bad compared to Yordan. And I know it's just a cold streak, because this is not the Yordan Alvarez that is the actual Yordan Alvarez. He's /210, 306 on base, 646 slugging, or 646 OPS plus 81. He's out with a fractured hand. Cam Smith, the starting right fielder now. Well, anyway, on to some of the positives. Yordan, if you're watching on YouTube, the Baseball Savant page does not look bad for Yordan. He just run into a little bit of bad luck, or should I say a lot of bad luck. But newcomers, Isaac Paredes has had a really, really good year. He's an all-star this year and well-deserving. 19 homers, OPS 826, OPS plus 129, playing very well. Fantastic decision to trade for him. And Cam Smith is starting to come around a little bit. A 113 OPS plus, 765 OPS with 7 homers in his rookie season. Rookie of the year, perhaps? Off the top of my head, I don't know what all rookies are in the American League right now, which is bad. I'm just hyper focused on the Astros right this second. Jeremy Pena having a fantastic year. He made the All-Star team too. He is out with a broken rib right now, but he is hitting 322 with 11 homers, 15 steals, 867 OPS, 141 OPS plus, playing pretty solid defense. Jake Myers is having a sleeper season. I mentioned him earlier in the podcast about how he's borderline an all-star, or he should be an all-star, playing like an all-star. So if you want to see the full episode, make sure to click that link in the description, taking this content from my podcast. 117 OPS plus. Great season. And on the pitching side of things, you got Framber Valdez and Hunter Brown, who are pitching like aces. They're doing this without Ronel Blanco anymore because he went down with Tommy John surgery. Hayden Wesneski, who was brought over from the Chicago Cubs, also ended up going down with Tommy John surgery, an elbow injury. Bullpen has been pretty good. Brian King, Bennett Souza, been solid. Okert has been solid. Josh Hader, he's been having a bit of a shaky month, but he leads the league in saves and has a fantastic overall body of work, a .82 whip. Stephen Okert, 42.2 innings pitched, .68 whip. Talk about all-star worthy. Brian Abreu having a fantastic season as well. Mentioned him earlier. And just, they're doing this without a lot of players. They're missing Christian Javier. Lance McCullers Jr. has been a liability pretty much. So if you get some of your guys back, if you get Yordan Alvarez back, you get Christian Walker to start hitting like he did in Arizona. You get Yainer Diaz to turn things around. And then you go get help at the deadline. This is a scary, scary team. And dare I say, they could be one of the favorites in the American League, depending on how this next month goes, depending on what they do at the deadline. There are players out there. I mean, Jarren Duran in the outfield, he's been rumored about to be on the block. Why not go get him? Kyle Stowers for the Marlins. Like, are the Marlins going to hold on to him? Are they going to trade him at all? What's his service time looking like? Maybe go trade for him. Who else is out there on the trade block? Like, there's got to be others. The starting pitchers. Bring in some starting pitcher. That's what I would do if I were the Astros. I would bring in some starting pitching help. Mitch Keller, probably not going to be around Pittsburgh for too much longer. Probably get a decent. Pittsburgh would probably get a decent return for him. Go out to the Marlins. I don't know who Houston would trade, but go to the Marlins. Go get you a Sandy Alcantara. Get you a Kyle Stowers. You'll be set. Move Altuve back to second base full time, even though he hasn't really been playing left field full time, but move him back to second base full time and get you Kyle Stowers in the outfield. Maybe. That's what I would do. That's what I would consider doing. Tell me I'm a horrible GM. I'll be okay with it. And let me know in the comments, are the Houston Astros starting to become one of the biggest threats in the American League? They are certainly rising to the top of the American League, not just the American League, but all of baseball. So let me know what you think about them. Anyway, moving on though, enough about the Astros. We're going to talk about another division in the American League, and that division is going to be the AL East. And the AL East is shaken up. It has been shaken up. What we are looking at right now are the standings from the day of the Rafi Devers trade, which took place on June 15th, I believe. Yes, June 15th, if I get my sources correct. So as of this date, the Yankees had a 3.5 game lead on the Tampa Bay Rays, who were 1 game ahead of the Blue Jays, who were 2 games ahead of the Boston Red Sox. You're following? So the Boston Red Sox sold Rafi Devers. There was just too much drama there with the positions, and they wanted to get rid of him, and they wanted to get rid of that contract. Who was correct in this decision was, or how they handled this situation? Were the Red Sox correct with how they handled the positional switches, or wanting Rafi Devers to switch positions? Or is Rafi Devers wrong for saying no? We could get into that, but we will save that for another day, or maybe that has already just been played out a little bit too much. Maybe it's been talked about a little too much in the past. And let's move on. But anyway, that was about a month ago. Today is July 15th, and let's take a look at what the standings are now. Now the Toronto Blue Jays have a 2-game lead in the AL East. The New York Yankees are 2 games behind them, and the Boston Red Sox are 3 games behind the Blue Jays, 1 game behind the Yankees. The Tampa Bay Rays are 5.5 back of the Yankees, 2.5 back of the Red Sox. Right now, the Blue Jays, Yankees, and Red Sox all hold playoff positions. So the Red Sox got better after trading Rafi Devers. And on another note, Rafi Devers has not been playing so well with the San Francisco Giants. He has been quite poor, only hitting .202 with a .330 on base, a .326 slug for a OPS below 700. 92 OPS plus. He's only hit 2 homers and struck out 34 times in 89 at bats. That is rough. Maybe he just doesn't see the ball well there. He's had a rough year overall, not particularly play wise, but overall he's had a little bit of an interesting season. But anyway, so I mentioned earlier that the Boston Red Sox were talking about there were talks about Jarren Duran being on the trade block. And right now, I just don't know if that's going to be the case anymore. He has not had the same type of year that he did last year, but he still had a decent year so far. 2.2 WAR in 97 games. He has had an OPS plus of over 100, 107. He leads the league in triples with 10, 8 homers. He struck out a lot. That doesn't mean everything. However, do they have room in the outfield now? With do they have a way to get rid or to trade Jarren Duran? Because Wilyer Abreu and Cedon Rafaela have emerged as more than competent players, even very, very good players. Cedon Rafaela might be a stud. Wilyer Abreu, I think he's a better hitter than what anyone really thought that he would be. Trevor Story has come back and played relatively well in his time where he never mind. He didn't come back from injury. He has played 94 games this year, but he's starting to hit a little bit. He's starting to do kind of well. I actually want to look this up. I want to see what type of year he's had so far or what he's done recently. Because, Trevor Story has never really been healthy with the Red Sox. Baseball Reference doesn't look extremely good, but let's look at the splits. He started off all right. In April, he had a 278 average, OPSing 757. May was pretty rough, OPS 432. June was really good, though. June was really good. 286 average, 327 on base, 500 slug, OPS 827. But get this, July, 391 average. Granted, we're only halfway through the month. 391 average, 417 on base, and 674 slugging for an OPS over 1,000. He has been red hot. I think he's a big reason why the Red Sox are where they are right now. That is 8 games above 500. They're currently on a 10-game win streak. So I know they're not in the lead in the AL East. Toronto's in the lead. I think the Red Sox have been more interesting, though. They just recently got Alex Bregman back. Romy Gonzalez and Abraham Toro have been a decent platoon over first base after losing Casas and that whole drama with Rafi Devers. Carlos Narvaez, he might end up taking away Rookie of the Year. He's been fantastic behind the plate. I believe he's a rookie. I believe he still has his rookie status. Am I correct? Yes, he absolutely does. Marcelo Mayer has come up and, he hasn't done anything crazy with the bat, but he's played a lot of different positions. Roman Anthony, he's come up and he's starting to really look like he's getting used to the things. He's OPSing 777, OPS plus is 117. He has 27 strikeouts and 106 at bats, 2 homers, 15 walks. His on base percentage is 100 points higher than his average. And I think, he's starting to really prove that he is going to be a force to be reckoned with. Oh, I'm an idiot, by the way. Jacob Wilson is going to win Rookie of the Year in the American League. He just doesn't seem like a rookie because he has been amazing and he's starting the All-Star game. So I guess I thought he might have lost rookie status last year, but I'd be wrong. And anyway, look at Roman Anthony's Baseball Savant page. It is looking very nice. I think he's just fantastic. And who knows, by the end of the year, he might turn it on. He might be up there in Rookie of the Year talks. Now, maybe not win it, but, he might be talked about. And then on the starting rotation side of things, they're doing this with a Walker Buehler that's not pitching particularly well. Hunter Dobbins has played pretty decently. They've had to get starts from guys like Sean Newcomb and Richard Fitz, who goes by a different name now. I think you know what his nickname is or what he actually likes to go by now. And so I don't think they're going to be sellers. They might trade Jarren Duran just because they have an outfield. They have an outfield of Cedon Rafaela, Wilyer Abreu, Roman Anthony. They have a path to trade him. And I think, it was going to be obvious that they were going to trade Aroldis Chapman as well. But right now, they keep winning. They keep climbing in the standings. They have a 64.2% chance to make the postseason right now, which is really good compared to probably what it was 10 games ago. So they are in a fantastic position now, as well as the Toronto Blue Jays, who have been outstanding since really the beginning of June. June 1st, they were 31-28, and now they are 55-41. And they aren't even getting those performances by guys that we would have thought they would be getting performances from. Vlad Guerrero Jr. has been fine all year. He hasn't been outstanding, I would say, but you got guys like Alejandro Kirk, who's been amazing. He's an all-star. Ernie Clement has really done well. 288 average. I know the power numbers aren't there, but he's done very well. Got a guy, Addison Barger, who I didn't hear about until this year, I don't think. Maybe I heard of him last year. I'm not going to give myself the credit, though. But they are doing this with performances by players that we didn't really think about. Andres Jimenez is not having a great year. Bo Bichette's having, middle of the road year, I think. A better year than last year. Much better year than last year, I will say. Addison Barger going crazy. George Springer having a resurgence at 35, 16 homers. It's kind of wild that he isn't an all-star. He should be an all-star, in my opinion. They went out and signed Anthony Santander to a long-term deal. Then what has he done? OPS plus of 60. That's right. 6-0. Kind of nuts. Getting a good performances out of Nathan Lukes. Dalton Varsho, I believe, is still on the injured list, but he's a pretty important player to have in your outfield, especially with the kind of defense that he provides. One of the best in baseball. Starting pitching has been a little bit of a question mark. Jose Barrios has been decent. Gosman's been decent. Bassett's been decent. Bowden Francis had been horrible. Eric Lauer has been really, really good. Scherzer has been not amazing, but he's 40 years old. So I think they have a starting pitching problem. Jeff Hoffman, one of their biggest reliever signings of the last couple of years, has not been great, but you got guys like Yariel Rodriguez, Brendan Little, Chad Green have been decent. Braden Fisher's been decent. Nick Sandlin, Jimmy Garcia is a good pitcher. I think they need some starting pitching help, and they need guys like Andres Jimenez to kind of come alive. Alan Roden is playing outfield as well as Miles Straw right now, or they have been. They've got a good chunk of playing time in those positions, which maybe they need a little bit of outfield help until Dalton Varsho gets back from the IL. Is he coming back? I don't even know if he's coming back or not, but they need some help. I think this is a really, really good team from top to bottom if you can get a little bit of pitching help, especially with the starting pitching, because Barrios, Gosman, Bassett, they're all doing decent. They're not blowing people away, but those three are reliable and they're durable. So you get a really, really good starting pitcher to maybe get to the top of that rotation. I think they could be a very, very scary team. Definitely could come away with the division if they keep playing the way they're playing. Speaking of which, Bo Bichette just looks weird without the long hair. I don't like it. I'm going to say it. As a bald man, I wish he had longer hair. I miss his long hair. But that brings me to the Yankees, who have faltered. And since June 1st, they have just not been great. They have had a losing record since June 1st. They're now in second place. They still have an 88.8% chance to make the playoffs. I think they're still a dangerous team, especially if Aaron Judge keeps doing what he's doing. Cody Bellinger's actually had a really, really good year too. I don't think we've talked about him enough. Jazz Chisholm's had a good year. Ben Rice has also had a good year. Trent Grisham, fantastic year. Jason Dominguez having a solid year at age 22, 112 OPS plus. Volpe is an issue though. He just has not really equated to what the Yankees thought he would be. Thought he was going to be a superstar. I did as well, but he's 24 years old. There's still a chance for that to happen. Who knows? Maybe he turns it on in the second half. And DJ LeMahieu just got released, DFA'd, whatever you want to call it. Paul Goldschmidt's having a really, really solid year in his age 37 season. And Austin Wells, decent catcher. Giancarlo Stanton also is back, and he's, mashing the ball a little bit, 117 OPS plus. However, they just lost Clark Schmidt for the year, Tommy John surgery. Will Warren's actually been not amazing, but he hasn't been bad. His ERA is 4.63, but you look at his FIP, it's 3.41. So I think he deserves a little bit more credit than what has been shown on the surface. Carlos Rodon and Max Fried, though, really good so far. They once again starting pitching. Starting pitching needs help, because after that you got just a very, very steep fall off. You got Marcus Stroman, who's making starts, and it's crazy how I phrase that as making starts, because he is only 34 years old. He signed for $16 million a year for 4 years or something like that, and now we're talking like he's just washed, which he may be. I mean, 24 innings pitched, 5.59 FIP, 6.66 ERA. I don't know what that tells you, those three numbers back to back to back. They need some starting pitching help. Max Fried and Carlos Rodon can't do it themselves. Will Warren, he looks good on underneath, but he's not getting the results that you want. And you can't keep throwing Marcus Stroman out there if he's going to keep doing this. Ryan Yarbrough had been really, really solid, but he's on the IL right now. You got to get some pitching help. Bullpen has been decent, though, or some players at least. Devin Williams, to look at his overall body of work, it's not amazing, but he's been very, very good lately. His ERA is 4.58, which is kind of nuts compared to what it was at the beginning of the year through maybe April. His FIP is 2.37, so it's not bad. Tim Hill's been good. Luke Weaver's been good. Fernando Cruz has been good. I think they just need pitching help, because their offense has actually been very, very good, even outside of Aaron Judge. Got a couple guys OPS plusing over 115. A lot of guys OPS plusing over 115. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players OPS plusing over 100. I know not all of them start every single game, but these are key guys. It also just doesn't make sense that DJ LeMahieu was let go. I mean, he wasn't having the worst year compared to when you look at Oswald Peraza has an OPS plus of 28 and he's gotten 148 at bats. Like, where's the logic there if you're going to DFA LeMahieu, who is the 90 OPS plus and a positive WAR? Maybe they just think that highly of Peraza's defense compared to DJ LeMahieu's. But anyway, who would I predict to win the AL East at this point? I think if the Boston Red Sox would go get a couple starting pitchers to go along with Garrett Crochet, Brian Bayo's actually had a pretty decent year. Lucas Giolito is a little bit like underrated. He's had a pretty good year. He's only 30. It's kind of crazy that Tanner Houck has a negative 1.5 WAR with what he did last year. Sean Newcomb's been pretty decent. If you look outside of his whip, his FIP is kind of nuts at 3.42. When you look at his whip is 1.756. His hits per 9 is 12.1. So never mind. Maybe he should not be. If he's starting games, it's not going great in my opinion. But Richard Fitz has been decent, I guess. I think they need pitching help because I think that lineup is pretty solid, especially if you can get Christian Campbell going again in the minors. He started off so hot, but he has fallen off heavy. I still think, depending on how the deadline goes, I still think I would choose the Red Sox or the Yankees. Probably the Yankees to win the AL East. I still think so. And followed by a close race of Toronto and the Boston Red Sox. And even the Rays. I got to give credit to the Rays. I just want to talk more so about the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, and the Yankees because they're the three at the top right now. And they have had the most interesting last month or so, in my opinion. Even though the Rays, I mean, they could go on a run too. This is shaping up to be a very, very, very spicy, perchance. I don't know if I use that word correctly, by the way. A very spicy division. And the Rays would be in that conversation if they hadn't gone 3-8 in their last 11, I believe. But they could still turn things around. I mean, it's just a skid. Every team goes through it. They always somehow find their way back to winning. And when you got a lineup that consists of Aranda, Brandon Lau, and Junior Caminero, along with Yandy Diaz and Josh Lowe. I mean, those are some big thumpers, man. Those are some big thumpers. Plus, you talk about their pitching rotation and their bullpen. Like, they always do well. So they could sneak back in there. And I say sneak in the most polite way, or I'm trying to say sneak in the most polite way. And Taylor Wall's a second on the team in B-WAR. I mean, my goodness, he's just a defensive wizard, it looks like, because he has an OPS plus of 65 and still leads the team in B-WAR. I don't know if that speaks to how poorly the overall roster performs as far as individual WAR, as far as B-WAR measures, or how good of a defensive shortstop that Taylor Walls is. My goodness. Anyway, that's the AL East right now in a nutshell, I think. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know who you think is going to win the AL East by the end of the year. And on to our last topic of the day. There's 3 teams that I think it's insane that we're talking about them in this regard. They're going to be sellers. There's probably more teams like this, but these are the 3 teams that jump out to me as far as what we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the season versus I think they're going to be selling, or they're obviously going to be selling now. That is the Arizona Diamondbacks, the Atlanta Braves, and the Baltimore Orioles. And when you talk about the Orioles, let's start with them since we just talked about the AL East for a little bit in this episode. Full episode in the description, by the way, if you're checking out the just isolated video about the teams that are going to sell. Anyway, I'm gonna chop this podcast up into videos, by the way. So if you want to subscribe, so if you like this content, consider hitting subscribe and appreciate it. But anyway, who are you going to sell if you are the Orioles? Because that young core is just still there pretty much outside of guys like Cedric Mullins, Ramon Laureano, Ramon Urias. So I guess I just answered my own question. Those are the guys who you would sell. Maybe Gary Sanchez even could help some teams. And I've even heard some people talk about the Orioles selling on Adley Rutschman, which is a wild idea to me now. Because first of all, he was supposed to be your cornerstone player, or one of your cornerstone players, one of the best catchers in baseball. we're supposed to be talking about Adley Rutschman the way we're talking about Cal Raleigh right now, but we also weren't expecting Cal Raleigh to hit 38 homers by the All-Star break, let alone 38 homers in a season at this point. Adley Rutschman has just not been the Adley Rutschman we thought he would be. And is it just because he's he's playing below what he usually is, or below the type of player that he actually is? Or is this the type of player that he actually is? He had a fantastic 2023, OPS over 800, 20 homers, followed by a very hot start to 2024. And then apparently he got hit by a foul tip on his wrist in the middle of the year. And he was never the same after that. He was put on the IL after that, actually. Or no, he wasn't. What am I talking about? He was not put on the IL after that, but he was hurt for the majority of the year afterwards. You look at his pre-All-Star break numbers, plural. 16 homers, 275 average, 780 OPS. Compared to the post All-Star break, 208 at bats. He only hit 3 homers, and he OPS'd under 600. So it was reasonable to think that injury to his wrist maybe sapped whatever he had going for him in the first half of the year. But he had all off season to recover from that. So that can't be an excuse anymore, because if it is his wrist, then you either need surgery, whatever you need to heal from that, heal fully, because you're not doing yourself any good playing through something that happened last year that's still bothering you if it can be healed. And this year has been worse. 227 average, 319 on base, a 372 slugging, and an OPS over under 700. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, if you're going to trade him, if you trade him now, it's not good, because you're trading him when his value is his lowest. I know he has more years of control left, but like, realistically, what are you going to get? What are you going to get for Adley Rutschman? You might as well. And are you closer to a rebuild at this point if you're the Baltimore Orioles? And now this might just be a down year, but I think they are going to sell. I don't think they should sell Adley Rutschman. I think they should sell Cedric Mullins. He's going to become a free agent after this year. Ramon Laureano, he could help some teams out. He's having a fantastic year. Sell him. Sell Ramon Urias. Sell him. Keep this core together. Keep Westberg. Keep Heston Kierstad. Of course, you still got Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday, Ryan Mountcastle, Adley Rutschman, who are all just performing, who are all just having down years. Maybe you sell Ryan O'Hearn. I think you should trade Ryan O'Hearn. What's his situation? What's his contract situation looking like? If this is his only year, you got to trade him. You got to trade him. And as far as pitching things, who are you going to trade? You just traded for Trevor Rogers, who is having a really, really good year up with the club. Or you traded for Trevor Rogers last year. He's having a really good year this year after being a just giant failure when they traded for him last year. Who can you trade bullpen wise? You can probably trade guys like how much more control does Sir Anthony Dominguez have? I wouldn't trade Felix Bautista. I don't think I would, because I believe he still has years of control. But I'm sure there are some guys out there like Andrew Kittredge. He's 35 years old, having a decent year, good FIP. Trade him. Matt Bowman, probably not going to get you much. 5.79 ERA, negative WAR. Probably better off just not even bothering. Maybe, I'm not sure. Brian Baker, do you trade him? You gotta trade Charlie Morton at least, though. Tomoyuki Sagano, you gotta trade him. He's on a 1-year deal. Charlie Morton's actually pitched pretty decently, if I can recall correctly, over the past couple weeks. Month. You should probably be looking for shooters right this second, which they probably are. Yeah, he has had a couple decent starts. 6 innings pitched, 1 earned run last start, 5 1/3 the start before that with 2 earned runs. He hasn't given up more than 3 earned runs since April. But granted, some of those were bullpen roles, but he hasn't allowed more than 3 runs but one time since he became a starter again in late May. So you got to trade him. Got to trade Charlie Morton. Excuse me. This is kind of the wildest of them all, or both of them, actually, the D-backs and the Braves. Let's start with the D-backs, because I thought they were going to be very much like World Series even contenders at the beginning of the year. Because, I mean, you look at their lineup. You brought in Josh Naylor after losing Christian Walker, a good move. Corbin Carroll had an amazing second half last year. You were hoping it was going to carry over to this year. You had guys like Zach Allen, Merrill Kelly, hoping Brandon Pfaadt took a step forward. Eduardo Rodriguez, hopefully maybe he can come back back to form. Corbin Burns was just signed, not to mention some of the bullpen pieces that they had from their World Series run. By run, I mean appearance. But it just has not turned out. It has not turned out. They've had just the rough performances. They are 47-50. Their lineup is not the question. Their lineup has been mashing. You got Ketel Marte, who's mashing. Josh Naylor, mashing. Eugenio Suarez, who would have thought he was going to hit 31 homers? I wasn't going to think that. Corbin Carroll has proven to be amazing this year. 11 steals, though. That is kind of low. That's low compared to what I thought was going to happen. Geraldo Perdomo, who seems like he's been around forever. He's only 25. He's had a fantastic year. But they got to sell. They're in one of the toughest divisions. You got the Giants, you got the Padres, and of course the Dodgers ahead of them. Josh Naylor's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. You got to trade him. You got to trade Eugenio Suarez. I think this is his contract year, if not next year. But man, if I would say absolutely trade him, even if next year he's under contract, maybe. Well, maybe not. I do believe he is a free agent after this year, though. Yes, he is in fact a free agent. Just checked. And you got to sell him. You got to trade Zach Gallen. He's a free agent after this year. I think you got to trade Merrill Kelly too while you can. I think he's a free agent after this year. I am not 100% sure. I'm looking up that now. He is a free agent. He's actually having a very good year. Zach Gallen, though, like what happened? What happened to Zach Gallen? Because he was an ace for so long. This was the worst time for him and the D-backs to have a down year. I mean, his Savant page just looks so bad. And I'm not saying that is everything, but this is the worst possible year for him to have this type of season when he was a free agent, because he's been ace level for the past 3 years, and now he's been absolutely horrible this year. So I don't even think you can get really anything of super big value back unless a team thinks they can turn him around. A 5.40 ERA, a 1.37 WHIP. That is just very, very bad for Zach Gallen and the D-backs. You got to trade him. Trade Merrill Kelly too. He's having a really good year. He could help those teams I just talked about. He could help the Blue Jays. He could help the Red Sox. He could help the Yankees. And he's 36 years old. He is just a rental. You're not going to have to give that much up for him, I don't think. So especially with him being a bit older, I think you would have to give up some more to get Eugenio Suarez and Josh Naylor, who they should be traded. This could be a decent little retooling of the D-backs, unless they think they could extend some of these guys. But at the same time, like if you think you can extend them, you may not be able to. They may not even want to talk about extensions, especially during this season. You could re-sign them in the offseason if you really wanted to keep them, but that could be the best of both worlds. Trade them away, re-sign them in the offseason, and then you have them plus the prospects you got for them. I don't know how often that's worked, if it has worked ever, but let me know what you think. Is it possible? I don't think it really would be, or else they probably would have tried to extend them early in the season or earlier in their careers. I don't know. Maybe I'm just speaking out of my face and I'm stupid, maybe. But anyway, fit for Zach Gallen is 4.79. I mean, this is a dude who finished third in the Cy Young in 2023 and fifth in Cy Young 2022. It's crazy how bad he has fallen off, but the Arizona Diamondbacks got to sell. They got to sell. And then the Braves too. That might be the biggest surprise. I'm not sure. I think it's the biggest surprise that they are 42-53, 11 games under 500. Do you sell Sean Murphy because you have Drake Baldwin, who is a stud in the making, it looks like. But Sean Murphy's been really good and he's under contract for a while. So it's like, you got to sell Ozuna though. He's on an expiring contract, but at the same time, he has a hip thing going on. So he hasn't really been productive. Has he not been productive because of the hip thing, or because he's just aging a little bit and not performing to what he has been seen of the last couple of years? He's 34 years old too. So you got to sell him. Maybe you do keep Sean Murphy and he could be your DH next year, because I mean, he's been hitting the cover off the ball. He's fourth in B-WAR on the team. Do you sell Chris Sale? I don't think so, because he's there next year as well. He's been amazing. I think the Braves are still in a position to compete next year, so it doesn't really make too much sense depending on what you can get for him. It's an $18 million team option. Like, I don't think you can really sell. He's just so unique. He's 30 36 years old. He's been healthy, although I know he's on the injured list right now, but it's not arm related. He fractured a rib when he dove for a ball, if I believe correctly. I know it's a fractured rib. I think that's what happened. I think that's how he broke his rib, but he's been incredible. He'd be on his way to another Cy Young conversation if he was still healthy right now. He's got a 2.52 ERA, and I don't know if you remember, but his April was awful. He had an awful April, but you got to sell Raisel Iglesias at least. He's on an expiring contract, 4.42 ERA. He started off rough too. He started off pretty rough. Pierce Johnson, you got to sell him. You got to sell some bullpen pieces. Like what are they going to do with guys like who are underperforming too? What are they going to do with Ozzy Albies, who's been awful? 606 OPS, 71 OPS plus. He's been healthy. From what we know, Nick Allen, what could you get for him? He should not be your long-term solution for shortstop. He's a great defender. You should not have him in your long-term plan to be a starting shortstop. You just signed Jurickson Profar to a long-term deal in the offseason. You're not trading him. Who do they trade? It's just got to be bullpen pieces. Maybe you sell high on Grant Holmes. He's having a great year. Maybe Aaron Bummer. Daysbel Hernandez just got sent down. Can he throw strikes ever? I just don't know where you go with this. Where you go with this team as far as selling. They don't have many prospects. They do need to bolster their farm system. I hope they did that with the draft. Michael Harris is on a long-term deal. He's been awful. 551 OPS. What is he still doing on a major league roster? Send him to AAA. I don't care how good of defense he plays. Send him to AAA because you're not competing. Let him figure this out because his on-base percentage is 234. He's had 10 walks all year. 10. That's not good. That is not good. Send him to AAA, but I digress. That's neither here nor there. I will say I am a Braves fan, so I know a little. My frustration is showing a little bit more probably now in this team's analysis or quote-unquote analysis. I don't know if I can legitimately call it an analysis, but anyway, those are three teams that we probably didn't think were going to be selling at the deadline, and here they are, probably going to be selling. Anyway, I think that's it for today. This went on a little bit longer than I expected it to go, so maybe future episodes are going to need to be a little bit shorter, but if you did like what you heard, make sure to like that video, and if you want to see more, consider hitting subscribe. Appreciate y'all watching. I'll catch you in the next episode. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Peace.